Hey there, this is Della Rucker. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am kind of excited to be doing this today because this is my first day using StreamYard. So this broadcast is going not only to Facebook, but to YouTube and Periscope as well. Periscope is the Twitter live video. We're working on LinkedIn, and that'll take a little bit. So hopefully this will be a good experience. Seems so far like the videos a little clearer than some of them have been, but mostly I'm excited to be able to give people more options. If you're not a Facebook user, so I'm excited to be able to do this, and I think there's a lot of good things we can do in the future. That's one great thing. Another great thing, as you heard in my last video, I had an opportunity to go to Florida and visit my in-laws, first time in quite a while, and that was super awesome. I managed to forget to do a video on last Wednesday, so my apologies for that. Got busy with that family stuff, and when you're in a different place, sometimes stuff just doesn't stick in your head. So we had a wonderful, wonderful time. And I came back for probably the first time ever with no sunburn, just a little bit of sunburn. I made up for it by, you can't really see that, but I made up for it by sticking my hand on an urchin. I was in the water and hit a soft spot and fell down and stuck my hand full of urchin needles. It's not a recommended behavior, mostly for the sake of the urchin. I think he got the worst deal than I did. But so it was great, and great to be able to get a little bit of a chance to get away, because that's been so rare over the last last several months. So if you haven't had the chance to do that yet, I sincerely hope you do soon. The increasing availability of the coronavirus vaccine, I think, is really going to start reopening up some great opportunities for us. And I was really happy for us to be able to do that. The other thing that was cool that happened while I was gone, but I didn't find this out until we got back, was that I got my new hardcover copy of the new book. So the Local Economy Revolution has not only arrived, but it has arrived. So this is a substantial book. It's about a quarter to a half an inch wider than the first version. I'm trying to figure out where to put it so that it doesn't all wash out. Love the way this came out. Really looks good. I've got some quotes on the back. Really, really happy with the way this came out. The on-demand print has come so far since I first put out the Local Economy Revolution, the first version, back in 2013. And I'd have to dislodge the camera in order to show you them side by side. So I'll save that for another day. So this has arrived. It is available. If you want print, you have two options. One is that you can get it on Amazon. Just look for this title. The Local Economy Revolution has arrived. It'll come with my name on it, Della Rucker, and it's available on Amazon. If you don't like dealing with Amazon, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with Amazon anymore, you can go straight to the source and get it on Lulu. So it's lulu.com, and you just, again, put in the title in the search, Local Economy Revolution has arrived, and it'll take you right to the hardcover print copy of this book. I'm sorry, it's not hardcover, it's paperback. I like paperbacks better. And they're cheaper. So, I don't see any reason to make it more expensive than it has to be. But came out beautifully. I'm really, really happy with it. It's got a lot. I don't know if I can make this visible here with the way the lighting is. It's got a lot of space that makes it really easy on the eyes and gives you some room to doodle in the in the margins, like I always do. I'm a notorious take note in the book person. And so that for me is always a real priority. The other thing that's in this version that was different from the earlier version, and this is much expanded, but if you can see there, I'm learning to do this backwards. This is a little complicated. But you can see right there, that little call out box. So all throughout this book, you will find two different kinds of call outs. One is pull quotes. This one's a pull quote. You probably can't see that too well, but that's a pull quote from, a place in the text. And in other places, you're going to find some thinking questions. So I called them food for thought. And so here's a food for thought. So you can see down there at the bottom. And so in the chapters that are maybe a little more abstract, or a little more maybe sort of harder to get your head around, I added a food for thought, which is a really simple exercise to think about that question, whatever the issue is that's been raised in that chapter, and apply it to your context of your community, the one that you care about, whether you work there or you're an active volunteer there, or you're just sort of watching what's going on and trying to figure out what, if anything, you can do to make it better. I think that this book will be a huge help for any of you in any of those kind of situations. However, the work of doing a book is never complete, so we will be in process of developing some sort of spin-off items from this. So look forward to an evaluation. Look forward to some shortened sort of excerpts or mini publications out of this book. And those will be coming up over the course of the month of March. So again, I really hope you enjoy it. I'm really happy with how this book came out. And if you've ever been an author, or an author, you know how hard it is for them to be happy with a piece of their work. I always make the joke about my brother, and a lot of you know my brother's work from the Wise Fool newsletters that I've put out for many, many years. And a lot of times I'll feature a drawing from my brother, Barry Gott, who is a children's book illustrator. And you can learn more about his work at barrygott.com. I'm going to tell a story on him, though. And I wasn't planning on doing this, so just bear with me for a moment. And I don't have one in here. Oh, I do. Hold on a minute. This is going to be all funkadelic. I didn't play in this at all. Ooh, it's also really big. So this is a painting that my brother, this is a painting that my brother Barry Gott did when he was in college. And I love this painting. And I love several of his paintings. But you know how I got his paintings? I got his paintings because he was going to throw them all out. It was about 5-10 years after he'd gotten out of college. He hated all of the work that he'd done in college, and he was ready to throw them out. That's what people who create things are like. So when you encounter work by someone who's putting their voice or their visual out into the world this way, what you're really looking at is that person putting out a piece of their own heart, their own soul. And the funny thing is that even in the case of a book about a relatively non-artistic-y kind of topic, you still have your heart and soul wrapped up in the work that you've done. And because of that, you see all of its flaws. So Barry wanted to throw out all of his paintings, I basically ended up rescuing a whole bunch of them from our parents' basement, and they're all over my house now. He's very embarrassed every time he comes to visit. But so it's just an insight into how hard it is for people to create independent work and to put that independent work out there into the world. Sometimes it's a lot easier just to stick it in mom's basement and sort of pretend that it never happened. But I'm super grateful that I was able to get that painting and the other ones that I have of him. They mean the world to me. So that's just a fun little sidebar. Moral of the story is support independent creators and buy books like The Local Economy Revolution Has Arrived, which you can buy without supporting Amazon, if you wish, on lulu.com. That's Lulu, like the old woman's name, Lulu. And you can also get it on Amazon if you want to, either in that format or in Kindle. If you want to really go independent, you can get it for a PDF, an EPUB, which is what an Apple reader uses, or print at gumroad.com. Gumroad.com. Gumroad is a great platform for independent creators. I love working with it. It's my preferred. A little harder to find. Fewer people know about it than know about Amazon, of course. So that was my big kind of excitement when I got home. You know, you get home from a trip like that, and it's great to have something that's, you know, a little bit of good news. So with the time that I have left today, I want to talk a little bit about an element that I've been talking about on an ongoing basis, which is really kind of the foundational elements of this book. When you're trying to do something that's radically new, a lot of times you have to really put the principles of how that radically new thing is going to work right in front of your face. Because even though we say we want to do something new and different, it's completely easy for us to just forget and in our day-to-day activities go back to doing things the way that we know how to do. So a lot of philosophies have kind of a statement of sort of core beliefs, fundamental principles. You see this in the sciences as well, especially in physics, where we start with a very fundamental fundamental understanding of what matter does and what forces do. And in theory, sometimes, you know, we don't have all the information yet, but the whole system should make sense from those core first principles. So the local economy revolution has arrived includes, very close to the front, a statement of first principles. And those first principles are kind of the touchstone. You know, they're the element that I'm encouraging you to go back and think about as fundamentals within the context of how have our communities changed, how are they changing, and what do we need to do in order to be helpful, to be useful, and to not be creating damage in that context. Because even with our best intentions, we create a lot of damage. So the first principles are kind of statements of how the world is different and how, as a result of the world being different, our purpose in our communities and how we do the work that we do in our communities, whether it's paid or not, big or little, how does that work that we do need to change? And so we've been working our way through these first principles, and I'm probably going to go back and redo some of the first ones, some of the earlier ones. But today, we're going to talk about one that is focused on rethinking how we do the work that we do in our communities, whatever that work is. And the fun part for me is that in all of my, years of working in this field, and all the gray hair will attest to that, the fundamentals, whether you're a city engineer or an economic developer or an urban planner or a city manager or a member of a nonprofit board or just someone who likes to sort of make stuff happen, these principles apply across a very wide variety of the elements of how our communities work. So today's first principle sounds like it's going to be about economic development, but it's really not. Instead, this first principle is about rethinking our fundamental approach to the people of our community and enabling the people of our community to really be the power, the flywheel, the source of energy, and the source of new ideas that we need them to be. A previous first principle says that elite saviors fail most of the time. We can't come in and tell them what they need or what to do. We can help, but what our long history now of coming in and telling people, well, you need to do this, obviously, and you need to do that, and we shall tear that down and build that. That didn't work, right? Created as many problems as it solved. So that's what today's first principle is focused on. Entrepreneurial mindset, and I'm reading it so that I can say it close to the way it's said in the book. I often make the joke, I talk pretty well, but I write better than I talk. So sometimes it's a better idea just to go right to the source. Entrepreneurial mindset is the unmet need for everyone. When we are asking people, as a result of the way the world is changing, to self-manage multiple career changes, to play an active role in improving their communities, to do the hard work of continuous education, to advocate for their children in school, and to do so much more, we're basically asking them to live entrepreneurially. And what evidence there is indicates that we've had a multi-decade decline in entrepreneurial mindset in the United States and in many other countries as well. And that's not surprising, given that our industrial era, the era that we are coming out of, had no use for millions of people who were working on their lines to upset their carefully crafted systems. They needed non-entrepreneurs. But this new era, the fusion era, isn't accepting that. In a situation where the old systems no longer work, to not be entrepreneurial is to be helpless, whether you're starting a business or not. You have to be able to see and capitalize on new opportunities. And that goes for everyone, no matter your education level or your profession or your position or your wealth. But most people have had very few chances in the last 100 years to experience or exercise an entrepreneurial mindset because the industrial era didn't want it. If our work is about people, which is a previous first principle, and if we are so dependent on talent, which was another first principle, then it falls out that our entrepreneurial mindset is arguably our biggest asset. It is our human ecosystem's new superpower. If we have lots of people who can think and act entrepreneurially, then we'll have lots of problem solving and lots of new ideas and lots of new creations that are relevant and fitted to this new world that we're moving into. But in order to create that superpower, we cannot treat entrepreneurialism as this special playground for the wealthy or the highly educated or the somehow magically gifted. Entrepreneurial work is everyone's work, if for no other reason than that not being entrepreneurial is a recipe for deterioration. And that means that our budgets, our programs, our systems have to increase entrepreneurialism, especially for people who have been cut out of that game in the past. So let's take a moment to just unpack that a little bit. I want to point out one component of that. So when we talk about entrepreneurialism, that's not just about businesses. It's not just about creating a business, and it's certainly not just about creating, the next Google or the next thing that's going to get sold to a venture capitalist or blah, 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 blah. It's not about that at all. It's about the ability to create something new, the ability to invent a new idea, a new approach, a new product, a new system, a new program, a new whatever. But it is that work of human creativity applied to a real world context. And as I indicated in that first principle, we don't have very good measures of entrepreneurial mindset, but we do know that entrepreneurial behavior, that is business generation, has been sinking. And not just for the last 10 years, not for the last 20 years, but going back 40 or 50 years. The number of people starting new businesses and thus both demonstrating and teaching and learning that kind of entrepreneurial problem solving, that's been on the decline. And it's been on the decline across ages, races, socioeconomic level, type of business, you name it. And so that is one of the core challenges that we have to address in helping our communities be equipped for this new world that we're moving into. That's incredibly crucial because, as one of the previous first principles says, and that I alluded to before, elite saviors fail most of the time. Just because we have a whole ton of experience with the old system, and because we have been told since maybe we were very young, and certainly young in our professions, that you're the one who has all the answers. That doesn't mean that we're right at all, or that what we learned is still relevant. And so we need a community of entrepreneurs, not just a subset, not just a few special unicorns, but we really need to unlock that potential. Now, there's a program, and I didn't get, nobody's paying me to endorse this or whatever. A lot of you know that I am the vice chair of an organization called the Greater Cincinnati Microenterprise Initiative that's focused on building entrepreneurship among low and moderate income people. And one of the tools that we use that Willie Hill, our executive director, introduced me to many years ago is a learning program, is basically a course called Ice House. And Ice House is about teaching that entrepreneurial mindset, that problem-solving, proactive mindset. And for a lot of us listening here, that might seem like, well, yeah, you solve problems, you got to, do this and that and something else. But think about it within the context of that industrial revolution. The Industrial Revolution didn't want you independently solving problems on the assembly line, because until very, very recently, when the processes changed to become a little closer to a fusion era. But if you think about a classical assembly line, nobody wanted you trying to solve problems on the line. They just wanted you to put your piece into the machine, because anything you did differently could gum up the whole work. So the whole question of efficiency versus ability to manage shocks and resistance, I think that becomes a really crucial piece of understanding why that entrepreneurial mindset was so undervalued, certainly unappreciated a lot of times in industrial era organizations, and has become so crucial now, and even more so into the future, as we look at needing to be entrepreneurial, to create new solutions that don't really have much of a precedent. And so when you think about the programs you're running, the policies you're implementing, the way things are being done in your community, think about whether and how and to what degree your programs are fostering entrepreneurship, are teaching entrepreneurship. This is a learned skill. That's what the Ice House methodology is about. It's about teaching the skills to be entrepreneurial, the mindset skills to be entrepreneurial. So ask yourself about, in your community, what that looks like. And is it happening? Or are your programs or your systems creating more helplessness, creating passive recipients who are, sort of waiting around to be told what to do? Because that doesn't work anymore. Not only can we not tell them what to do, but it's a new era. And there's not a whole lot of other people that can tell you what to do either. So think about that a little bit over the next couple of days. How is your community building an entrepreneurial mindset? And not just in business owners, and not just in white, wealthy people who are already engaged in the life of the community. Ask yourself who's being left out. And I think that's where it's going to get really interesting and really challenging. So thank you again. As a little additional reminder, the local economy revolution has arrived. It's physically arrived, in addition to arriving in the world all around us. So you can get the print at Amazon. Just search for this title. You can get the print at Amazon and at Lulu.com. So that's two sources. You can also get the print copy at Gumroad. So Amazon, Lulu.com, and Gumroad.com. You can get the digital versions at Amazon for the Amazon platform, the Kindle platform, and at Gumroad for other kinds of e-readers. So I hope you really get some benefit out of this book. And thank you for taking the time to listen today. Really appreciate it. And like I said early on, when you're an independent creator, and I don't care whether you're doing paintings like Barry or books about topics that, this is not exactly writing Twilight, right? It's a interesting experience to put your voice and your face and your ideas and your creation out into the world. So thank you again to all of you who have been encouraging me to do that. And until we talk again. Have a great week. Go get them. Bye.